Let's try this again. There we are. Now we're live. So good morning, everybody. I was just saying that there's this there's this practice that we all have because we're human beings. That if you go to a classroom or you go to a meeting that repeats, that you wind up sitting in the same chair as you did the first time that you went. And I want to encourage us today to not do that. Not that you're going to be seated in a different place than you usually are. You're probably sitting in the same place as you have been before if you've been here before. But I want to encourage you to not necessarily be the person who you've always been. I just habituation is such a strong pull, right? We are so used to being the we who we are that to not be who we normally are is different. And I'm talking a little quietly today, and that's what made me think of this was because I have my daughter wanted to have my daughter wanted to get her room redone, but to get her room redone would mean to dismantle. She had I didn't know the color of her walls. She literally had every surface of her wall covered with posters and pictures, and it was amazing. It was like an artwork. And to help her clean that up, she invited four of her besties over, and they had a slumber party, and they're all sleeping out there. So they all helped to clean up, but it's forcing me to be quieter. And this is not the usual way that I talk, but I want to, I have a sound machine right outside my door, and I'm being different than how I normally am. And I want to encourage you today, why not you be a little bit different than you normally are too? If you're someone who's usually shy, doesn't talk during this very much, maybe today's your day. If you talk often, maybe today's the day not to talk. So here's a question. What good are freedoms unless we exercise them?
I don't see the recording symbol.
I believe we are broadcasting. It's just it's broadcast. Thank you for Bob.
I see you broadcasting on Facebook.
We're broadcasting to Facebook, and so people who are on Facebook, who are on rotb.org watching live, people who are on YouTube, thank you all for joining. I was going to say something about that. Oh, I had a welcome. Is John here? John was going to read.
Yes, I'm here.
Where are you, buddy?
Right here.
Are you? Oh, there. Hi, John.
Good morning.
John, we're going to start today with a welcome, a different welcome than we normally do because we've never had John do this before. So, John, why don't you, if you want to give a background as to why you're doing this welcome, or if you want to just go right straight in and read your welcome.
It's a combination of things, including this is the fourth service that I've been to. So the first three have done a pretty good job of hitting me and stimulating me. That combined with some other things made me think words of welcome are important. So now, as far as background is concerned, right now I'm here Saturday morning. I go to a local Mennonite church on Sunday morning. So this begins. Welcome. If you are a Christian, traditional or conservative, Orthodox or progressive, inquiring, or even part of what John Shelby Spong called the Church Alumni Association, you are welcome here. Whatever your faith background or tradition may be, you are welcome here. If you've never been here before or attend regularly, you are welcome here. If you struggle with the word God or know what it means, you are welcome here. If you have faith without being able to fully define it, you are welcome here. If your faith journey is in a state of flux or even stalled, you are welcome here. If you have many more questions than certainties, you are welcome here. If you seek to destroy the patriarchy or by circumstance are representative of it, you are welcome here. If music or prayer or scripture or a sermon or silent reflection is the most uplifting part of worship, you are welcome here. All are welcome here to participate in acts of worship and share in a community which cares for and about others, whatever the backgrounds may be.
Thank you, John.
Amen.
Can we get an amen? We're all here.
Amen.
Let's
Amen.
do some with hands so everybody can see this is live. Hi, everybody. I particularly liked that John, after having attended the service a mere 3 times, said, here, I think I have ideas of how we could be more welcoming. And I thought, what a great idea. Let's not bring this to committee. Let's just have somebody who's never done this before make a welcoming. So everyone, I hope you feel welcome. I thank you, John, for writing that and being willing to read it. This is the point of this Saturday service, and those people who are new, who haven't joined before, hi, I'm Rabbi Brian. Glad to see you. I'm an ordained rabbi. I was ordained just about 25 years ago, and I, at some point, realized that the service that matched my soul was not the one that I was trained to do. That's not exactly right, because of course I was trained to do exactly what I'm doing, but the one that you know what I'm talking about. We're not doing that Hebrew service. There shall be no. I wanted to figure out how to run a service where there wasn't a high bar to entry, that you didn't have to know all tunes, you didn't have to know prayers in a foreign language, you didn't have to know when to sit, when to stand. And it's taken me about 25 years to figure out how to create a service like that. So I want to say welcome to everyone who's here. I'm glad to have all of my friends. I'm just looking at you all. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi. So welcome, and welcome. Glad you're here. This is, I'm going to refer to as Rabbi Brian's spiritual religious support group. Now, at a past time when I referred to this as a spiritual religious support group, there was some consternation, and there was some, we don't like the phrase support group. But I thought after last week, if I added to the beginning of the phrase spiritual religious support group, Rabbi Brian's spiritual religious support group, that none of you could quite argue, because it's not saying that you're members of this, that you're doing anything other than supporting me because I need support as Rabbi Brian's spiritual religious support group. And last week we got, I need to talk about what happened last week. If you weren't here last week, let me give a quick recap. We had a wonderful discussion, and I want to get back and clean up a little bit more about, we talked about the difference between joy and pleasure. And then something bizarre happened where I misread an email from my college where I thought I was being slighted. And it came out at the end of the service when I actually read the email that I had imagined the slight being offered against me. And that was quite a revelation. It was quite a moment. Oh my goodness. Go ahead.
So you were wrong?
Yes, Emily. I was very wrong. There are a lot of lessons that one can take from this, and one of which is that it's okay to be wrong. I was texting with Hugh. Hugh, I hope you don't mind that I'm going to share the content of our text. Here's your chance to object.
You may say anything you want about me, Brian.
Thank you. So here's Hugh said, sending you peace as you prep for the service, no need to reply. Can you read that on? I can zoom in a little bit. There we go.
Out of focus.
I'll get to that. Hold on. Oh, it's going to be a little out of focus. I'm not sure much I can do about that. It's going to. Hugh said, sending you peace as you prep for this service, Brian. No need to reply. I said, but I want to thank you. He said, glad you did. I wrote, I was just thinking, what could possibly go wrong? Hugh wrote back, and if something does, you'll have tools you need to handle it. And then I wrote something I'd never thought before. As so long as I am the judge, I cannot really get convicted of messing up unless I rule against my own self-interests.
As long as I'm.
As long as I am the judge, so as long as I'm the judge of if it went right or wrong, I can't really get convicted of messing up unless I rule against my own self-interest.
Right.
If I'm the one who judges if it was a mistake, and I'm the one who metes out, here is the punishment, here is the court has decreed this is what one must do to. If I'm the judge, I can't get convicted of really messing up and having to, I don't have to give myself punitive measures for having messed up if I'm the judge, unless I rule against my own self-interests. Let me try it this way. Who's to say you did something wrong? I saw one person waving. So just that one person? Two people waving. Who's to say you did something wrong?
Someone in power.
Say that again.
Someone in power.
Someone in power. Sure, great. Let's be specific. Who's to say you said the wrong thing? Who's to say you did the wrong thing? Them?
You.
Or you? I think this is a huge idea of if we take on our own spiritual religious authority and we say we are the arbiters of, oh, that was a mistake. And I'm not saying not to apologize. Somebody says you did something wrong, to make amends and to try to fix it. But who is it up to whether or not you hold that and you hold on to, I really messed up? I think the answer is us.
Mm-hmm. I like that other answer about whoever has power. And
well, who has the power, Emily, in your life to say you did something wrong?
Right, that's right. I get to say. You
get to say. And even if somebody comes at you and says you did something wrong, they can believe that, but you can also believe that you're. Who has the right to let me put it in different words. Who has the right to lessen your soul? Who has the right to lessen your shine? Who has the right to dim your sparkle?
That's assuming that if something wants to be corrected, it lessens your soul rather than enlarges your soul.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yes. Correct. Say that again, Carol. That's what I'm trying to get at. Is we are the ones. You say it again, Carol. Would you?
All I'm saying is, I'm saying two different things. The first thing I'm saying is, when we do something wrong and we notice it, that is not a negative judgment. That's an opportunity to grow.
Amen.
We all get that. We all make a mistake. It can be an opportunity to grow, not necessarily a reason to lambaste ourselves.
Lambasting ourselves never makes sense, but we are very far from being unified selves. We are the self that we use all the time, and then we're the self that we fortunately reach at sometimes after we've meditated, after we've been thoughtful, and that self can frequently correct and help us become better.
And that's what I want us to see when I said that maybe today we sit in a different seat than we normally do. If we come to a conference and we don't sit where we sat the last time, is that maybe we bring a different self to play, and we bring a self into the game today that's not as harsh on us. The crazy
Ron,
idea.
hand up.
Yeah, go ahead, Ron.
I'd like to just point out that, I want to quote Paul here: that which I would do, I do not; that which I would not do, I do. And I am the one.
Let me pause you for a second, because I know the quote you're referring to, and if people don't know the quote, I'm not sure they're going to get what you meant, which is Paul was saying that there are things that I know that are good for me and I don't do them. And there are things I know that are bad for me and yet I do them. So that's the quote. Now go ahead, Ron.
Right. Okay. Very good. So sometimes I'm the harshest judge of myself.
Time out. How many of you, show of hands, how many of you are the harshest judges of yourself? Oh, look at that. It's everybody. It's amazing. Strange, isn't it? Go ahead, Ron.
Okay, but as years go by, I look back on some of these decisions that I was so harsh on for myself and realize that my subconscious was what triggered it, and that was the best possible decision at the time.
It was the best possible decision at the time.
Yeah.
Do it.
Right. Even though I judged myself harshly for making that decision.
Right. So you get yourself out of the loop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
So let's talk for a moment. And we went all the way into the deep waters at the start. I didn't start. I have cute little cartoons I was going to warm us up with, but we don't need those today. What, and this goes, I've asked this question to the group before, and if you haven't been here, maybe you be one of the people. If what I'm saying from Catherine Schultz is this is the first time you're hearing it, I'd love to hear from you. If you've heard this before, please take a different seat and let someone else answer. But Catherine Schultz asks groups of people, she says, what does it feel like when you make a mistake? What does it feel like when you make a mistake? And the people answer, as all of us do, as I did the first time that she asked, then I heard her ask it, is what does it feel like to make a mistake? Is it feels awful. It feels shameful. It feels embarrassing. And then she points out very cleverly, no, that's the answer to a different question. That was the answer to the question, what does it feel like when you realize you made a mistake? Because, and now everyone get come in on this one, what does it feel like when you make a mistake?
Normal. Awful.
Guilt and shame.
It doesn't feel like anything, actually, because you didn't know you made a mistake. Jane sent me a text, and she wrote, Jane sent me a text, she says, do we have any old regular size nail clippers? She sent me a text. Do we have any regular size nail clippers? And I wrote, I think so. 2, 1 in each car and 1 in the bathroom. But that's not what she wrote. She actually wrote, do we have any regular size hair clippers?
Oh.
We don't have any hair clippers in each car. But what did it feel like when I answered her question? Did I realize that I wrote that I was misreading what she wrote? No. We don't realize when we make a mistake that we made a mistake. Why did I misread what that had come from the college? Why did I misread that? Well, I didn't mean to misread it. I wasn't nefarious. And I learned this lesson. I can explain where I learned this was, I was a math teacher for 7 years, right? After becoming a rabbi, I taught math because after becoming a rabbi, working a regular synagogue job, I didn't like that. And before I could find all of you people to do this, I taught math. And in teaching math, I would get mad at my students, not, hugely mad, But I would say to them, why'd you drop the negative sign?
Oh.
And why did they drop the negative sign?
They didn't see it.
They didn't see it.
They thought it was a positive.
They thought it was about they're factoring, they're doing square roots,
Where
they're
did you
doing
get-
negative exponents, they're doing other things that they've not, and they're concentrating on the, and they just drop the negative sign. Why do you drop a negative sign? Because you made a mistake. So I want to talk about consequences, though. I misread what the college wrote in their letter to me. And when they did that, I called my friend. I can't think of one of the person's name. I called Suzanne. I called my friend Suzanne, and I called Hira. Hira is, and they're both stalwart survivors of the college that I went to, and they know all about it. And I called each of them, and I told them what I told this group last week of how dare the college, how dare they be checking in on me and da-da-da-da-da. And both of them, beautiful people, they had my back and support. Time out, I'm going to tell a story. The story goes like this. Somebody comes to a rabbi and says, Rabbi, I realize I had made a mistake and I said something about someone that wasn't true. And I told people about this thing that the person did, but they never did it. I was wrong. I gossiped. I did. And the rabbi says, oh, I have exactly the cure for gossip. Do you have a feather pillow? And the person says, yeah. And the rabbi says, I need you, here, this will cure you from the guilt of gossip. I need you to go on top of a hill and take your feather pillow, open it up, and disperse the pillows. And as you see the pillows go in every direction, you'll feel your guilt is lessened. A person goes and they listen to a rabbi. They don't ask questions. They just do like a good person and do exactly what they're told by a religious professional. Wink, wink. Don't do that. So they go to the top of the hill. They release the feathers to every direction. And they don't feel any better. They actually feel pretty stupid because now they've lost their favorite pillow. On top of it, they go back to the rabbi. They say, that didn't work. I don't feel any better. I feel worse. I now lost a pillow and I still feel guilt and shame. And the rabbi says, oh, I forgot. There's a second part to what you have to do after you dispel all the feathers to the four corners of the earth. And they say, well, what is it? And the rabbi says, you have to go now and collect all the feathers.
Put them back in.
And they say, well, that's impossible. And the rabbi says, so it is with when we say something we shouldn't have said. We can never really take back the words. We can never undo it. Mm-hmm. So in keeping with this story, when I realized I had misread what the college had written to me, I called Hira and I called Suzanne and I admitted to them. I said, look, I have to tell you the feather pillow story. I gossiped. I said something that wasn't true and I perpetuated misinformation. And they giggled, they laughed. But okay, I'm glad I told that story. Hold on. I made a mistake last week, but I'm also willing to forgive myself. No major damage was done. And if that major damage was done, I'd still have to find a way to forgive myself that I had made a mistake. I had just made a mistake. Are you willing to let me forgive myself for the mistake that I made?
Yes.
Sure.
Of course.
Oh,
Absolutely.
no, you didn't want to answer that so quickly and so positively.
Yeah.
Because
You can forgive yourself. We won't.
yeah, that's exactly what I was getting at, Rob. If you all would forgive me for my trespass, Why?
How does
why?
your trespass affect the person you misunderstood?
I don't know. I didn't get back in touch with the college about it. But
For me, that's my biggest thing. If I'm misunderstanding, I made a mistake and I affected, I try to figure out how I
right. So
fix it.
I could call the people who I spoke to. I could apologize to all of you to whom I had told the story. I could try to collect back as many pillows as I can, as many feathers as I can. Let me get back to my point, and then Naj, if you have a comment, I'm really glad to hear. I want you to try this. I want you to see you're willing to let me be forgiven for the mistake that I made. And it might be because you go, well, Rabbi's got a contrite heart. He just made a mistake. My question is, and I want it to sit with you, are you willing to forgive yourself the mistakes that you make as easily as you'll let me forgive mine?
Probably not.
Probably not. No. I appreciate the honesty. My goodness, thank you for the honesty. Can you let that one sit? Let it take seed. Let it root a little bit. And contemplate this over the next week. Why are you harsher on yourself than you would be on me? If you are the judge in your own case, why are you committing yourself to a greater fine than you would give to me?
Because that's the one I can control.
That's the one you can control. You can control the one on you. Perfect. I love that, Rags.
Better.
So why not be the judge who rules in your own favor?
How about holding yourself to a higher standard? I always try to be kinder to other people.
Yeah, great. Can we try it for a week? What would happen in this world? And boy, oh boy, I will take all the heat if it works out badly. But what in the world would happen if each of you were as kind to yourself as you know to be towards other people for a week? What in the world could happen? I got ideas. Bob, and then Al, and then Michael.
I guess I look at it from a different slant. That when I make a mistake, that I do something that I think is going to work, but it doesn't, and then that's a mistake. But I learn from that, and I say, okay, I don't do that again.
Great.
Mistakes are normal to me, and that's part of my life. And so I really don't get upset with it. It's just that I looked at what did I learn from it.
Exactly.
Right.
Perfect. Gold star for Bob.
We love you, Bob.
Al, what do you got, Bob? Al?
Yeah, for me, I was thinking about this, and I realized that when I make a mistake, it's like I committed an offense against the person that I thought I was.
Oh.
I revealed to myself that I'm not the person I thought I was.
And
I kind of go through a mourning, like, hey, I lost this image of myself.
Yeah. I hate if I miss an appointment, I will say to people often, I hold myself to a standard of perfection that is beyond, like, I'm embarrassed, and they're like, don't worry about it. I'm like, but I can't.
Right, because I'm not punctual anymore. If I'm late for an appointment.
Worry help.
I gotta let that label go. And
Yeah.
that takes a little bit of time.
Okay. Well, we have all week to experiment with it.
Awesome.
Michael.
First, I want to point out that you're not talking quietly anymore, but I forgive you.
Awesome.
This topic, it's pointing at some really ingrained beliefs, right? Like the only real judge is God, and that's what I've learned. And who am I to forgive myself, right? That's a tough one.
Whoa. Okay, I'm back on quiet mode. God's going to judge me because I got excited about this topic? God's going to hold, like, what kind of bastard God do I believe in? That God's going to be punitive about the fact that I had enthusiasm. That doesn't work for my theology.
No, it shouldn't. Well, it's black and white in my conditioning.
Correct.
But I have to soften that.
And that's why we're here. That's what we're doing. Thank you, Michael. Naj. Thank you, Michael. Naj.
So
there you are.
So I really struggle with the idea that you have to forgive yourself for anything, in that you are still labeling this as sin or as a mistake or as something that you did wrong. You did a comparison comparing it to gossip, which turned it into something malicious and intentional. Whereas what's really going on is your unconscious knows a truth. And the truth that you know is what all of us survivors of that same school know, what all of us who are trying to heal from organized religion are trying to figure out, which is the ways in which colonization has taken religion, turned it into an organization that teaches us to judge.
Yeah.
So even the concept of judgment, even the idea that there is judgment, is in itself problematic. And you're returning back to, well, if I judge, then can you forgive me? Can I forgive you? But fundamentally, the concept of judgment within faith is what we need to be liberating ourselves from. That judgment, you even, I heard you use the word should. And I heard you even say, like, if I miss an appointment, I get mad at myself. I missed an appointment with you. You called me and told me not to shame myself, but you're shaming yourself. What happened is the shame of your truth, which is still true, the unconscious truth that you are not fitting in, that you feel like you're being judged, is still true, even if it may not have applied to that letter.
Do you have how do we get out of this? How do we get out of this?
It's not about forgiveness.
Okay.
Because forgiveness keeps you in relationship to judgment.
I understand.
Fundamentally, it's about recognizing that there is this truth that is in need of healing, that whether or not it played itself out in that reality, shame is still something you're fighting against.
Yeah.
Right? Like you said, I'm not, but we can't not deal with shame because it's thrown at us by society. We live in a judgmental, colonizing society, and shame is always with us.
It's
we always have
pervasive.
to be working on removing it. And every time that we feel that tsunami of shame that I did something wrong, that is the moment to say, I need to let go of that judgment that's still in me.
Can I try to use you as an example that when I talked with you, and I knew you forgot about the appointment, right? And I knew how to treat you.
Yes.
That I can learn from how kind, it goes to what Rags was saying. I can go to how kind I am to you and use it as a yardstick to how I should be treating myself.
Right, which you're still not, because you're still, it's that ingrained in us that we can't help but go back to the stories of, I mean, what a shaming, hopeless story of the feathers that can never be grabbed. It's like literally what a hopeless story that you can never pick up all of those feathers again. It's will kill me now. Like I'm never going to be able to undo it. Like that's such a hopeless story. We all have hopeless stories that from our respective religious traditions that we've absorbed that we think are really comforting. And then if we really articulate
You're
that.
right. I never thought
They
about
pull
the
us
feather
right
story that
back
way.
into colonizing judgment, Dean, shame. It's like gravity shame.
It is.
To me, I think of gravity. I think of shame like gravity. We can
You
barely fight
can't
against it.
escape it. Yeah,
And it
yeah.
is what keeps us rooted to this world.
Thank you, Naj. Let me take 3 more, and then thank you, and let's see where we go. Steve, and then Harold, Connie, and then Aaron.
I was going in a same place almost.
Do it.
As not with the idea of shame, but a different way of looking at it.
Do.
Shame says that I'm defective.
Right.
Guilt says I did something wrong.
Right. That's a very important distinction.
Yeah.
And when I am in my shame brain, and when shame is controlling my view of the world, I am incredibly unforgivable. I can't, I'm just a screw up, and there's nothing else that goes with that, and I can condemn myself and feel terrible. Where when I am in a healthier place and recognize that I did something wrong and go to guilt, then I can deal with the fact that I did something wrong. I made a mistake.
I like that very much.
And I'm not the mistake, but I made a mistake, and therefore I can get past it. But I do live in both brains.
I like that very much. That we might have guilt, we might have reason to feel bad that we did something wrong, but that the idea that we are wrong, and to get ourselves out of that position, I like that very much.
I spent a lot of my early life living in the shame brain, and I spent much more of my later life living in the guilt brain. But I'm not free of the shame brain. The shame brain still can run the show sometimes.
Yeah. And when I like how you say it, it's a state of mind. When you're in that, when you are deeply in shame, you can't see outside of it. Harold, Connie.
I'm having a little bit of an issue with inserting yourselves in places where you don't belong. I'll cite an example. You apologized for misreading the letter to the college. You asked for our forgiveness. We're neutral observers. We have no business in your courtroom. We need to know when to get the heck out of there and not push this shame blame game, because you've got 40 people here that you say, well, you all forgave me, but we have no right to even be in that business.
Correct.
And one of the things that standard religion says, by golly, you need to insert yourself when somebody goes wrong and straighten their body out. And I think that's a judgment we have to make about who did the wrong, and am I a neutral party or am I harmed? And I don't think we know how to make that judgment very well. And we get way into this shame blame way too far, way too quickly, where we have no business being in there in the first place.
I think right. Let's make sure not to judge other people so much. Aaron, thank you. Harold, thank you.
I wanted to. Yesterday, I went through a cognitive test. It was testing me on my memory, and because I have issues with memory, and I really felt crap. I mean, I would be testing to remember things I just wouldn't remember, and I felt pretty bad today. And thinking about that and being here, I think about what can I learn from it. And there's a test. There's a computer test at the end where they're trying to see how. I get the feeling they're trying to see how adaptable you are, and I remember getting a whole bunch of. It's really weird. You're trying to sense a pattern, and the pattern keeps changing, so you try to adapt. And in a way, I tried to take that positive to see how could I adapt. And I didn't do it every time, but I'm trying to learn from it.
Yeah.
In this conversation, I'm trying to share the story.
Thank you, Aaron. And if I may add in a little from my educator days, if the one of the problems of testing is that the tests have to be harder than everyone can do.
Right.
Because if it's not harder than everyone can do, then you can't judge who's better than whom according to this test. And so when you take standardized tests, the SATs, the ACTs, or any of these tests, you're going to leave feeling stupid because the test has to be, by its very nature, something that not everyone, that most people can't do well. What a horrible
I had a
system.
brief conversation with an older man who was there, and he basically told me that, and I understood what he's. I wasn't sure how he was saying it,
Yeah.
but he said the same sort of thing. I don't know if he was being negative or positive, but I was trying to take it positively.
I'm trying for comforting. And I could even apply it to say that life is like that our life is going to be harder than we can handle.
Yeah, and I'm trying to be positive because that's not something I generally do. So that's how I'm trying to do something differently. Be positive.
Good work. Good work, Aaron. Hold on. I want to get back to a topic, but I want to get to our prayer moments. I feel like I left something out at the beginning there. Oh my goodness, I have all these cards of all these things I want to share still. Okay, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to quiet down again. It doesn't sound like they're up yet, so I think I'm okay. Maria, you have our love and light, and I have to say, this is the great thing of last week. I said, let's not add love and light to people who are not members of this direct community. And then the earthquake happens and 20,000+ people are dead and displaced, and how insensitive it would feel to not add the people of Turkey and northern Syria to our list of those for whom we have love and light. So I will make, I know I said last week we're not doing that. Yeah, we are. Go ahead, Maria.
Okay. Sorry, I'm fighting a cold. These are the names of people to lift up and send positive energy to. The Cook family, Francis, Jane Ricci, Alicia's friend, Ken and Joe, Abbas, James, Gord and the Dixon family, Carol Good Hansen in spirit and Jim Hansen, Norma Cox, April, Jill, Iggy, Steve, Michelle, and Saul, Ezekiel and Joanne B., Doug, Claire and Louis, Suki, Annie, Paul and Kat, the family and friends of Gloria of blessed memory, and the people of Turkey and Syria. If there is another name in our community we can offer light and love to, please put their name in the chat and I will add them to the list in the clubhouse. And for the people who aren't named, but who are in our thoughts, we send them light and love as well.
Thank you. Let's take 1 minute of time starting right here at 8:44.
Hi, monster.
Okay, thank you all. I want to go back and clean something up Carol had helped us with last week, and it fit in so well last week, and it extends to things we've done in the past, and it extends forward. So if you would, Carol had said last week we were talking about the difference between joy. Oops, sorry, I'm on the wrong screen. There I am. we talked a little bit about the difference between joy and pleasure. And Carol, you were very astute, and you said that joy is a movement from a lesser pleasure to a more, from a lesser to a greater perfection. Lesser to greater perfection. And that it's a movement from a lesser to a greater perfection. That's where we find joy. We find joy in moving from a lesser to greater perfection. And it reminded me of this. It reminded me of the arrow that we've used very in talking about spiritual religious life, that we talked about transformation. And I wanted to add to our understanding of transformation that that's what we're talking about when we're talking about transformation. We're talking about moving from a lesser to greater perfection. That it's not just transformation, because transformation can go both ways. That when we're looking at a spiritual religious life, we're looking at the movement from something lesser to something greater. And then, Carol, if you would, and I'm going to put you on the spot knowing that you can take care of yourself if you want to say no, you had added in something about love. You said to me, we can extend this teaching about love. And I'm wondering if you would be all right sharing that.
Fine. For the most part, people at first fall in love as an experience of pleasure. Oh, I feel so good in this person's presence. Oh, this person is so attractive. Oh, I want to be friends with this person. These are all pleasures, and they are easily dissolved, and you can see that in the divorce rate. But if you love someone because you are experiencing, love is joy with the idea of an external cause. In other words, anyone who really sees you, opens you up, helps you to become what you can become, you love. And that can be a friend, that can be a lover, that can be a teacher. Anyone who helps you to move from a lesser to a greater perfection is someone who gives you joy with the idea of an external cause.
I'm going to say thank you. That's a great, for me, just such a great idea of that love is moving from a lesser to a greater as well. And that true love. And we put that in that curve, the Yerkes Dodson curve last time, of that it's not always fun to love, but that there's a joy, there's a joy in being transformed from the lesser to the greater. Naj, go ahead, Carol. Finish what you had to say.
No, let Naj talk.
Naj.
No, I mean, I don't want to interrupt.
Everyone's so
I was
polite.
just waiting. I just wanted to say, because when I hear the word perfection, it brings me back into a place of shame, the word perfection. And
just change it to wholeness.
That was what I was going to say, is that the Hebrew word for perfection is wholeness, which to me involves the integration and absorption and loving of those parts of ourselves that we have split off because of shame. So when you, for example, Brian, are having that moment of like shame of seeing how your experience of the college touches upon this notion of I'm not good enough, who I am is not good enough, and then that's like there for all of us to see. The healing, the moving to perfection, is recognizing that the brokenness is also holy, is recognizing that part of you that you didn't want to see, that showed up when your unconscious decided to make itself known, that is also part of your wholeness.
Yeah, I like that very much. I like that very much. Thank you.
Good.
Because sometimes perfection is used as a weapon, especially for those of us who are neurodivergent.
Thank you. And that goes also to what Aaron was just talking about. I had taken the word perfection to be a goal, nothing that we're getting to, but I like wholeness as
Wholeness is right, and that's what Spinoza meant, because a perfect horse is one that has 4 legs and a mane and a tail, and it's got nothing to do with how fast it can run. It's just a horse. When it's got all the aspects of a horse, it's a perfect horse.
I have a question. What happens if it only has 3 legs? Is it not a horse?
Not a perfect horse.
No, it's not a perfect horse. It's a wounded horse, and we try to heal it.
That seems a little rough to me.
No, I didn't say we try to shoot it. I said we try to heal it.
I heard you.
Perfect is the same. Naj was absolutely right. Perfect means wholeness.
Okay.
And that's also what shalom means.
Yeah.
Shalom doesn't simply mean peace. It means wholeness.
Yeah.
The problem is you live in a colonized world where 3 legs don't get you very far.
Unless
So you still have this idea that it's very hard to hear this conversation without shame infiltrating.
I'm having a hard time with it myself, so I'm looking forward to having more unfold and for me to understand better.
Can I chime in as one of the disabled people who's in this group?
We got
Carol?
a bunch.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Whole.
Jack.
Hoo. Suck it up, princess.
No,
Carol,
but that's
damn well. I am a whole person.
I think that's what we're saying.
Disabled. Sorry, RB. Just let me get this out.
Yeah.
I'm a whole person. I am considered by several different psychiatric magazines and the DSM-5 and so on as a disabled person, but I still consider myself whole.
Amen.
Even though I cannot interpret a lot of stuff y'all can as neurotypicals, I'm still a whole person. So that 3-legged horse, as far as I'm concerned.
We'll find another word than whole. What he's really saying is when you can really claim all of yourself.
Which is what you do, Lee. You do claim all of yourself, and that's what you address doing.
Basically, comparisons are awful and should not happen. We're not here to compare with one another or to compete with one another. We're here to fully inhabit our own lives.
I like that.
I can agree with that.
Good. Look at that.
That works for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for cleaning that up. And Lee, thank you. That reminds me of a quote that I want to bring. You honor a person when you ask them. This is a slightly different topic, but it's related. Make an effort. You honor a person when you ask them to make an effort. That challenging someone is not dishonorable. Challenging someone else's assertion should be seen as a thing of honoring them. And that's what you just did, Lee. And that's how you just took it, Carol, was that you're honoring someone when you're asking them, saying, or what Naj was just doing on me with the word perfection and wholeness, is that's how we get better, and is by being asked to make an effort to grow, to learn. Okay, that was on the pile.
Rabbi, can you change that when you ask them to grow? Because to make an effort sounds so belittling.
Okay. So I think we're getting into some, ask them to
grow.
All of our words have associations that are tinged by shame and colonization, and this is part of the challenge. Even like trying to say from less to more, it involves a value system.
Correct.
And we live in a world that tells us that those of us that are wired in one way are different and not as good than the machine people that are perfect. And
the four-legged horse.
What that really is, I suggest, is the disavowal of spirit. So colonization's goal is to teach us shame so that our spirit doesn't shine, and therefore we can be controlled.
Yeah.
And every time we embrace those things that society taught us to shame, we become more whole. So
say that again, Naj.
every time we embraced something that society taught us to feel shame about, we become whole.
I love that. That is just beautiful.
The healing that I heard Carol trying to articulate, is those, when we realize that who we are is whole and perfect unto itself, regardless of how it fits into a society that is filled with colonization and shame and ways that we are cut in order to fit into little boxes. If I am a star and I'm being shoved into a square box, then parts of me are going to have to be disowned, cut off through shame, so that I fit, so that I don't rock the boat. But I then lose that part of me, and then I start to shame myself so that I stay in my place.
Naj, help me with that sentence.
Healing is coming out.
Help me. I didn't get exactly all your words down. Every time we reject that which society told us was shameful, that told us is shameful.
Is shameful.
Finish this.
We heal and become whole. So when we say, I am wired differently, and that is beautiful too, that affirmation that we just heard is the making of wholeness. When we reject shame, when we come out of shame. But shame is like gravity. It keeps trying to find its way back in, how we hear one another, the associations we have, because being in this world is so wounding.
This is beautiful. And all of us, I think every one of us knows this, and it's living towards it. I have only so much time, but I have Anne, Lexi, and then I had somebody else on the screen for a second. Anne, go ahead.
My cat here has 4 legs, but if I had a 3-legged cat, I would not be attempting to heal the cat.
Correct.
I would be attempting to heal the society that thinks that she's not wonderful just as she is.
Lovely. Thank you, Anne. Yes.
Yeah. And Lee, I'm one of the disabled people in this group, so
we got a collection. Lexi.
So I'm just trying to synthesize everything that's being said. Are we basically saying, like, I feel like we're just saying that wholeness equals our authentic selves?
That sounds good.
Instead of like, because it's like, it's not so much whole as like a whole being, because obviously like 3-legged cat, 3-legged horse, it's still, they're still who they are. It's just wholeness is who we are authentically, despite what society is telling us who we should be. That's sort of how I'm interpreting.
I love that. So every time we reject that which society told us is shameful, we heal and become whole, our authentic selves. Selves. I think selves, that's gestalt, that there's more than one part of us. Okay.
Well,
yeah, John.
One term that comes back to me, a lot of what I'm hearing is we deal with a double standard. We have an ideal that in an ideal world, we regard everybody else with unconditional positive regard.
Or we can, yes.
That's an objective.
Yes.
In a perfect world, the last thing we regard that way is ourselves.
And
that's the double standard.
And here's our homework for next week, or for this week. Can we regard ourselves, UPR, unconditional positive regard? I think of the word upper, which is how I remember unconditional positive regard, is can we make our way this week to see ourselves with more unconditional positive regard? Okay, my dear friends, I'm going to stop the recording here. Wave goodbye to all the lovely people on Facebook and Zoom. Thank you, lovely people on Facebook.